Do you know how we have those meetings that should have been an email and they kind of irritate you? Well, in my opinion, this is a contentious divorce that could have been civil. I could be wrong. You all love it when I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like one of the attorneys is instigating the drama factor here and really amping things up to the next level when they kind of were close to agreeing on the same things. So tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm missing something. Here we go.
All right, this is a divorce case that was filed on a pro se basis, but then lawyers have become involved in it, and we're basically litigating everything. So, Mr. Jackson, you represent the plaintiff in the case.
I do, Your Honor.
You wish to make an opening statement?
No, Your Honor.
All right. You may call your first witness. Baxter, come around, please.
You want the rule? I got multiple witnesses.
You got witnesses?
I do, yeah.
We'd like to rule, Your Honor.
Rule has been requested. If there are any other witnesses other than the parties, you must go outside of the courtroom and remain outside of the courtroom until you're called to testify. You are not to discuss the testimony of any other witness with anyone until you yourself have testified. Counsel are under a continuing duty to ensure that the rule is complied with. Officer Moyer, if you'll check to make sure that that monitor is not broadcasting what we're doing too, please. All right. Mr. Jackson, you may proceed.
Would you please state your name
Veronica Ray Baxter,
and where you live?
7102 Beasley Point Drive in Dixon.
And you currently married
Yes.
to whom?
Christopher Baxter.
And when were you married?
February 10th, 2015.
And how many children did you have with him?
We have 2 together.
And if you, obviously there's been some problems in your marriage.
Yes.
Could you tell me when those problems started and what they were?
It started about when around Daniel Baker got killed.
And what were the troubles?
He was out partying and staying out all night, abusive.
Did you go out and stay all night?
Yes. Sometimes he would come home, but yes, a lot of times he was staying elsewhere.
And as a result of that, excuse me, did you find out he was having an affair with another woman?
Yes, who is here today?
Pardon?
Who is here today with him?
Is he married? Is he living with her now to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir, I do believe so.
And that relationship started during your marriage?
Absolutely.
And once you found out about it, did you go to therapy?
Yes.
And how long did you go to therapy?
For a few months.
And obviously that stopped. Can you tell me why?
It stopped because he was resorting back to the same ways and being secretive.
Did you find out that his paramour was in fact pregnant by him?
I did not. I knew she was pregnant. I did not know it was by my husband.
You know that now.
Yes.
So things got a lot worse.
Yes.
Did he leave the house?
Yes.
And when did that happen?
He officially left around beginning of October of 2020.
And has he been back since?
Absolutely not.
Now, currently there's an order of protection
Yes.
in place.
Yes.
There's also a temporary restraining order that's remaining in place till further orders of the court.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the order of protection keeps you from coming around the children,
Yes.
and the temporary restraining order keeps you from coming around you.
Yes.
Prior to the order of protection keeping him from coming around the children, did he make any effort to visit with the children?
Yes, he was seeing them every other weekend prior.
And during this period of time, did he pay any support?
No, sir.
Has he paid you any support at all?
No, sir.
Who maintains insurance on his children?
The state. The state. They're on Medicaid.
Through the state of Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
Now, while the two of you were together and before he left, did you have problems with him coming to your workplace?
Yes.
And what were those problems?
He would come and be argumentative in front of my coworkers, and he would oftentimes steal my car whenever he was mad at me.
Just take your car?
Yes.
How were you supposed to, how did you get home?
Walked.
He'd come to where you were working, get your car, and you'd have to walk home?
Yes. Several times.
Pardon?
Several times.
Did he ever become physically abusive to you?
Yes.
Would you describe that to the court?
There were often times that he would come in late and he wanted me to be awake, and he would slap my feet, make me wake up. There were often times that he would hit me. He's choked me. And he would try to put the pillow over my head, and he would hit me.
Did he do this in front of the children?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you would go to work, would he keep the children while you were at work?
No, sir.
Who kept the children?
My mother.
Did you ask him to keep the children?
Yes.
And what was his response?
He can't.
Are you frightened of this man? You scared of him?
Absolutely.
Do you trust him with the children?
No.
And why is that?
It's been almost 2 years since he's seen the children. And he asked them questions whenever he was seeing them. And he doesn't know them currently.
And where do you work now?
Vanderbilt,
Is that part-time or full-time?
I work part-time.
And what do you make at Vanderbilt?
20 and some change.
Pardon?
20 and some change.
How many hours do you work per week?
About 24.
Now, your husband, along with what he makes on his job, he gets some veteran benefits, does he not?
Yes, sir.
And does he claim you and his children for those benefits?
Yes, sir.
You know the amount he's paid for your benefit?
About 200 for me and 70 or 75 for our boys. And including my own son, that's my oldest child, he claims him as well. And his name is Trenton, and then Trenton's dad is Timothy, and he claims him on the VA as well.
So he's getting benefits from the Veterans Administration for you and for your children,
Yes, sir.
but he's not paying you anything,
No, sir.
and he pays nothing for the children.
Correct. No, sir.
Now, if the court awards you child support, do you want that to be made retroactive
Absolutely.
to the time when he left?
Yes, sir.
Did you have an automobile prior to April 1st, 2023?
Sir.
And to whom was that vehicle titled?
Me and Chris.
Pardon?
Me and Chris.
And what happened to that vehicle?
It got wrecked.
And did the insurance company pay for that?
Yes, sir.
Who was paying the insurance on the car?
Chris was.
Who was making the payments on the car?
I was.
How much were the payments?
$469, I do believe.
And since he was the since he was paying the insurance company paid him for the car, right?
Yes, sir. And also, he paid the insurance because he would not sign off to bring my car to my own policy.
So did you get the money for that car?
No, sir.
Did you try to get the money for that car?
Yes, sir.
So what have you been doing for a car since April?
I'm borrowing one from a friend.
You have money to buy one?
No, sir.
While we're talking about cars, is there a vehicle parked at your house?
Yes, sir.
And what is that vehicle?
A 1972 Chevy C10.
And do you know that had a lot of work done to it,
Yes.
restoration?
Yes.
Do you have an approximate value of that truck?
I would say about 20,000.
And do you know who that truck is titled to?
Christopher.
And when did he acquire that truck?
September 2016.
Were you married to him at the time?
Yes.
Do you know if he has any other vehicles?
Yes. I'm sorry, it was 2017 that he got the truck.
Does he have any other vehicles?
Yes.
What other vehicles does he have?
He has a Maxima and he has a 2002 or 2003 Chevy Silverado.
You know the approximate value of those vehicles?
I would say his car is probably worth maybe 20,000. I'm not really sure. And then his Cat Eye Chevy would probably be 6,000-7,000.
Now, does he make the payments on those vehicles?
Yes.
Were they acquired during the term of your marriage?
He had the Cat Eye Chevy whenever we were together and got married. But this Maximus, he's acquired during our separation.
So he had the Chevrolet when you were married?
Yes, sir.
And the other, he had it before the marriage?
No, sir. He got it afterwards. He got it afterwards.
Now, I assume you acquired personal property during the course of marriage.
Yes.
Has that property been divided?
Majority of it.
And what parts have not been divided?
Our bedroom suite, the couch and the chair.
Were those items acquired during the marriage?
Yes, sir.
Where are those items currently?
At my house.
At your house?
Yes, sir.
You asking court to award you those items?
Yes, please.
When he left, he took some items with him when he left, did he not?
Yes, sir.
And what did he take with him?
I'm not sure. I was not present because of the drama that was going on. He brought his mistress and her sister-in-law over to get his items. So I'm not sure completely, but he left his deer head, his turkeys. He took his clothes and his guns for sure. The rest, I do believe, is still there.
And how many guns did he have?
About 4 or 5.
And do you know what weapons those were?
They were, there was a pistol and the rest were, was a Browning 270, a Browning mag, I don't remember the rest of it. And then he had a muzzle loader. And I want to say there's one more Browning, but I cannot, Wicked Wing, Browning Wicked Wing.
So he had
I'm sorry, he had 2 pistols. One was mine. He had 2 pistols, one was mine.
what pistol was that? What kind of weapon?
It was a Glock.
How much is it for?
I would probably say 500.
And he took that weapon?
Yes, sir. That was a gift to me from him, but he took it whenever he left.
You haven't gotten it back?
No, sir.
And the Browning Wicked Wing A5, what's the approximate value of that weapon?
2,500.
And the Browning 270 WSM?
I would say about 2,000. Oh, I did not. Did I say 200 on the first one? I meant 2,000.
So on the Browning Wicked Wing, 2,000?
Yes, sir. Actually, for that one, I would say it's about 2,500.
And the Browning 270?
About 2,000.
And the Browning 7 mag?
1,500.
And he has a Glock, and he took your Glock.
Yes, sir.
How much are those valued at, do you think?
I would say about 500 each.
And did he own a muzzle loader?
Yes.
Did he take that?
Yes, sir.
What do you think the value of that is?
Maybe 700.
Pardon?
Maybe 700.
Now do you want the court to make this temporary restraining order, which prohibits him from coming around you, interfering with you in any way? You have to make that a permanent injunction.
Yes, sir.
And also the order of protection with the children. Is that extended?
I am willing to give him supervised visits every other weekend, so he could establish a happy, healthy relationship with our boys, since he's been missing or out of their life for almost 2 years now.
So you're not attempting to keep him from seeing his children?
No, sir.
In fact, you want him to have a relationship with them?
A happy, healthy one, yes, sir.
But because of the length of time since he's seen them, are you of the opinion that this should be a gradual process
Yes, please.
and that it should be supervised?
Yes, sir.
And by whom should it be supervised, in your opinion?
I'm not sure, sir.
Some appropriate person approved by the court?
Yes, please. Please don't make it family. Family's not a good idea.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell the court about the situation?
No, sir, I'm not here for the past experiences. I'm not here to make him look bad, or I just want him to have a healthy, happy, established relationship with our boys.
And to support his children,
Absolutely, yes, sir.
which he absolutely has not done,
No, sir.
and wouldn't even care for them when you were at work, when you were together.
Correct.
Doesn't that make you a little apprehensive about him being with the children now?
Yes, that's why I would like it supervised.
That's all I have.
Master Gill, you have questions?
Yes.
Good morning.
Question, I just want to clarify your testimony a little bit. There we go. So, you started your testimony talking about some troubles in the marriage, right?
Yes, sir.
And so, with these troubles, you said that I was staying out and partying, started an affair during the marriage, all that, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, during this time, though, was he the only party in the marriage engaged with interactions, relations of the sexual variety with third parties?
Yes, sir.
At no point at no point during the marriage were you involved with any other parties whatsoever?
No, sir.
Okay. So, and then, So moving forward there, talk about how you left the house in October of 2020. Now, talking about this though, and the abuse that went on. Now, he's not the only party that had some incidents of violence during the marriage, though, is he?
I would try to get him to stop.
But, during the marriage, you also had some abusive tendencies with him, right?
No, sir.
Never all? Did you have abusive tendencies or aggressive tendencies with any other parties during the marriage?
There was, yes, sir.
Could you tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. I was having a girls' night. Chris was aware of this. We were separated.
Approximately when was this? Take your time.
I want to say fall of 2020.
Okay.
He was aware that I was out with some friends of mine, and he had threatened to go get my children from my mom, or our children from my mom. They showed up. My mom called dispatch and was made aware that he needed to leave. Her property is posted, no trespassing whatsoever. So she called in because she was scared. And then I do believe he or his mistress contacted dispatch, and they were told to leave. Well, whenever I got there, they were still there, backed into my mother's driveway. I get out, I'm the passenger, I get out, and he's mouthing off to me, and then he tells me that his BITCH would whoop my ASS. She got out of the car and proceeded to do so.
And what was the result of that interaction with you and Miss Robinson legally?
I called dispatch. A officer was dispatched out. She made her statement. I made my statement, and charges were filed on both of us. I pressed assault, and she pressed assault on me, and those were dropped.
So we've had that going on. Now I want to circle back. You mentioned that, and I want to make this crystal clear. So at no point during the marriage were you involved with? It's your testimony that at no point during the marriage were you involved with any other party, though.
Correct. No, sir.
Yeah. At no point did Mr. Baxter walk in with you with anyone?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. There we go.
I'm sorry. I did forget about that. It's been a few years. So I was out with a guy friend, and he ended up spending the night with me because we were already separated. And so he ended up spending the night with me, and he was in the bed because we fell asleep, and he had his shirt off, but there was no other contact.
Approximately when was this?
2020?
Do you have a rough idea of month or?
It was before we filed our paperwork, so about 2020.
So you would like to correct your testimony that there was both of you were involved with other parties. Was there anyone else at this time?
No, sir. However, this is again 2020. I don't necessarily remember every detail, unfortunately. I do try to the trauma I've tried to. I can't dwell on all the past. That's not what I'm trying to do here.
So the trauma keeps you from testifying truthfully as to what other parties you had sex with during the marriage?
I've not had sex with anyone else.
Now, you have had a child during the pendency of this action.
We were separated.
Okay, so, but still technically, still married though. But so let's see. But we'll move on from there. Yeah. Now, you mentioned here the order of protection. Now, do you remember when this was filed?
Yes, sir. January 16th of 2022.
2022. Yeah. And now with that, we've had that filed now, and we'll, and we've got your filing, but if you could just tell the court what was the basis of the motion of your request for order of protection, what was it based off of?
My request for that was because the boys was over at his house with his girlfriend, and he and her got into an altercation, and he choked her. Her children called the cops, and I was notified by her sister-in-law at the time that my boys needed to be picked up or come home. And I had asked, it was not his time to bring them back to me yet. So I asked what was going on, and she told me that that's what happened.
It's your testimony that it was a sister-in-law that they called you, no another party?
Kristen probably texted me as well, but yes.
And if you could tell the court, who is Kristen?
His mistress.
So your testimony was they had a dispute, he and his mistress, and she contacted you to receive the children at that time. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That was, let's see. Now, I was wanting to go over a little bit now. We talked a lot about, you testified about Mr. Baxter being argumentative at work and car and all kinds of things. It's fair to say that you guys have had a turbulent past, right?
Sure.
Now, and with it, let's see. Now, during the pendency of this action, which was filed, you guys initially filed in 2020, August of 2020, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so all these things that you testified about issues and alleged, aggressiveness from Mr. Baxter was prior to you guys filing, though, right?
Yes.
Okay. So since this action's been filed, you've had no further issues from Mr. Baxter, right?
He is not allowed to contact me.
Okay. So as you mentioned, it's been 3 years, so there's been no issues between you two in that time.
Again, he cannot contact me.
Let's see. Right. Now, talking about Vanderbilt, you testified that you currently work at Vanderbilt. What's your position there?
Access specialist.
Yeah, and what can you tell the court a little bit about what that job entails?
It's like a receptionist, just at home.
Just at home. All right, well, that's great. So you can work at home. It's flexible, remote jobs. Good deal. So with this at-home position, what's preventing you from working a 40-hour work week?
Childcare.
Childcare, and what is the, now if you work at home, why is childcare necessary?
Because my daughter is a toddler and I'm not allowed to have any background noise at all.
And what's the hours with this job? Are they regular or is it variable? Is it set time? Do you work the same time every single day?
Sure.
Now, you testified a little bit about the Nissan that was wrecked. Can you tell us approximately when that happened?
April 1st of 2023.
April 1st, and who was in the car when it was wrecked?
Jesse?
Anyone else?
No, sir.
Just who is Jesse?
He is my daughter's father.
And he is kin to Miss Robinson, your paramour in the case as well, right?
I'm sorry?
Your paramour, who you're living with?
I'm not living with him. We're not living together.
Are you guys in a relationship?
No, sir.
Yes, sir. So why was he driving your vehicle?
Because I was at my, or Carter is one of our children. We were at his baseball game and I had a flat tire, so Jesse put a donut on it and he was going to drive it to his parents to fix it because I wanted my children to be safe. Or our children to be safe. I just wanted the boys to be safe.
And then it was wrecked. Let's see. Shift over here real quick. Let's see. So You've told the court that you'd like to have supervised visits every other weekend, and sole basis for that is just your concern with these issues that you had with Mr. Baxter over 3 years ago?
No, sir. In a way, yes. However, he has not seen our children in 2 years. I feel like they need to get to reconnect and have a happy, healthy relationship with their father.
Now, you testified earlier that the order of protection, though, went into effect, was first filed in January of 2021, though, right?
2022.
So that'd be approximately 2 years. So for the last 2 years where he hasn't had contact, it's been because of this order of protection, right?
Correct.
So it hasn't been by his choice or that he just hasn't wanted to come around. He's been prohibited by law from an order that you sought from the court, right?
Correct. However, Mr. Baxter could have contacted his attorney to change that. He called the insurance company all the time, but he can't call you or set anything up to change the order of protection, though?
I think it's fair to say we've all been looking forward to the final hearing.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Now, do you remember, you mentioned some issues with Mr. Baxter in the past. I was going to see if I could, show you something. We can talk about an account real quick, briefly. Gonna hold this and lay a foundation first. Yeah. So I apologize. We're gonna have to dig back a few years though, but bear with me. So talking about the issues you guys had way back in 2020. Probably at one point you had filed charges against Mr. Baxter during that time, correct?
In 2020?
It's fine. Now, you testified earlier that Mr. Baxter receives VA benefits, though, because he's a veteran.
Yes.
Right, and those VA benefits normally are paid to a checking account in his name, correct?
Yes.
Now, but during this time, I was going to show this to you. This was produced by your party and by your attorney in discovery. If you pass it up, look at that for me.
Thank you. I'm looking at things, but if there's something clearly I should be looking at.
Yes, could you identify that document for me? Whose bank statement is that?
It looks like that's mine.
Yours, all right. And if you look on there, the deposit looks like around 1029, 10.6. The deposit from the VA for approximately $1,800. If you take a look at that for me. Should be on 1029 for $1,876.17. Do you see that? And you see and we're looking at statements for your bank account.
Correct, because, yes, sir.
So could you explain to us how, and you testified that these VA benefits normally paid into Mr. Baxter's account. Can you explain to us how this Veterans Affairs benefit for Mr. Baxter ended up in your account on that date for $1,876.17?
They deposited it in there. However, since his name is no longer on the checking account, they took it out. His name has to be on the account in order to receive the funds. So they put it in there, they took it back.
And at what point did they claw the funds back? What's your text?
Probably around 1029, because I do remember calling them regarding this.
Thank you. Take that back now. Yeah, we don't have to make that up. You testified earlier about some of the value of the personal property between the parties. Now, could you tell the court your background in appraising vehicles?
I don't have one.
And your background in appraising firearms?
Mr. Jackson asked me approximately, so that's kind of where I was going. I was really going on the cost, and I know Brownings are expensive.
So, yeah, it's a guess. You weren't testifying as to the actual cost from memory. It's just I guess basically.
Again, sir, this has been going on for a few years. I don't remember exact money. I don't remember exact details. That's not what I'm here for.
Let's see. All right. One moment, Judge. Past minutes, Judge.
Mr. Jackson, you have any questions? Your boys are 10 and 6, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And they haven't seen their dad in 2 years, and you want supervised visitation. Who exactly am I supposed to designate as a supervisor for these children?
Or I have no idea.
Nobody in your family that's willing to do it?
There would be drama between the two parties, and I don't think that's a good fit. I could see maybe a friend could.
What about anybody in his family? Does he have family around here?
He does, but they don't know our boys at all.
You understand the dilemma that I have is that obviously he has right to see the children, whether he's exercised that or not, or whether that is a fair estimation of what has happened. But in any event, if I order he have supervised visitation, I've got to have somebody who's willing to supervise. And they have to be under the court's jurisdiction. In other words, they have to consent to be a supervisor so that if they don't do what they're supposed to, they answer to me. Therein lies the problem. Let me just ask one thing about this scenario. You understand you're still married?
Yes.
All right. And he's still married to you, and he's obviously, according to you, having this open relationship with another person. But I've gotten the impression you've hedged a little bit about your own personal activities. I don't much care at this point whether you two, during your separation, have had relations with other people, but I do care about people telling the truth under oath. So I'm just going to ask you, have you had a relationship with another individual before, since your separation, while you've been separated?
While we've been separated, yes, but before, while we were married and together, no, sir.
And that was the question Mr. Massengill was trying to ask you, but I don't think that you ever connected with it. And you understand that is, even though you still are married, you may be separated, but you're still legally married.
Now I do, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you. You can step down.
Thank you.
We're going to take our mid-morning recess. We'll be in recess for 15 minutes.
All rise. Court is back in session. You may be seated.
All right, plaintiff is still putting on their proof. Mr. Jackson, you have another witness?
Not this time, no.
All right. Mr. Massengill, do you have proof you wish to offer?
Yes, Your Honor. We call Mr. Chris Baxter to stand.
No. Try it again.
Hello?
All right.
There we go. Good deal. All right, please state your name for the record.
Christopher Michael Baxter.
And where do you currently reside? All right, and what's your relationship to Miss Veronica Baxter?
Married?
And while we're here today.
Yes, for the final divorce.
So let's go through a little bit. There's been some testimony. Now the court gets to hear from you a little bit. So I'll probably cross back and forth between these. There's been some confusion about some testimony about the lead up to the divorce. Could you tell us a little bit about y'all's relationship? And
Yes, the relationship we was married February 10th, 2015. We started having problems around that time that Daniel Baker was killed here in Ditson County.
He went to check out a suspicious vehicle 1 year ago this morning near Highway 46 and Bear Creek Valley Road in Dixon County. Minutes later, dispatch couldn't reach him anymore. He was then found shot multiple times, and it was evident his patrol car was also set on fire. The perpetrators were nowhere to be found. An intense manhunt then started, and on June 1st, 2 days later, suspect Stephen Wiggins was captured less than 2 miles from where the shooting happened. He and his passenger on that day, Erica Castro Miles, have been charged with first-degree murder. The trial will take place next August.
At that point in time, I had reached out to a Lisa Baker and a Andrea Gribbins, if I believe that's right, and tried to see if I could get over there and comfort Lisa Baker in the loss of Daniel Baker. At this time, we had started having problems due to the fact that I was going over there, trying to watch out for her and Meredith. And at the time, there was times that we would go together, and then there was times that we didn't go together. There was times that I've never not stayed out all night long. I stayed out one time, and Veronica had told me to go over there and stay with Lisa and Meredith because of the weather.
All right. And then as far as this testimony, so you're staying over there with Bakers. What other issues were going on though?
At this time, I did not know of any issues that was going on up to this point. It come to find out that during the issue was that there was rumors being spread that somebody was seeing somebody else.
Object, Your Honor.
And the basis is,
Hearsay.
objection is as to hearsay as to this statement there are rumors out there. A rumor would appear to be a very definite source of hearsay, so sustain the objection.
We had started getting into arguments. They started becoming abusive. We had started to separate from each other as a couple.
And how do you mean separate?
She would be very secretive with her social media. She would turn off her location on GPS where we had GPS on each other. There was multiple times where she would not answer the phone.
And you guys with the fighting, you mentioned it got abusive. So you tell us a little bit about that.
So the abuse started with both of us. There wasn't just one party. We had both been very violent with each other. At one time, there was a knife pulled from her. There was one time where I had been hit with a golf club. I had been scratched by my neck. I was on the phone with another person where they could hear this. With the kids being said, that would be Trenton and Jackson and Carter, that there would be some times where they would see the physical evidence between both of us.
So time you were scratched, time you tapped by a golf club, the time the knife was pulled, of all these incidents, were the children present?
Yes.
And so all those times where Miss Baxter was the aggressor to you, the children were present?
Yes, both times.
So moving forward, you guys have decided to file for divorce.
Yes.
All right. And then after that, once everything, you guys initially had an agreement, but then you guys decided to retain counsel, and so here we are. Now, after the divorce was filed, what was the arrangement between the parties regarding custody?
So before we had filed with lawyers, before she had presented herself with a lawyer, there was supposed to be a non-contested divorce. We were supposed to split all the bills, and we were supposed to do 50-50 with the kids.
That was the original agreement?
That was the original agreement.
Is that reflected in the parenting plan?
Apparently, some total offer of settlement.
Well,
that agreement never was entered into, I don't think. As such, it's an offer of settlement rather than.
it was a marital dissolution agreement that was filed as a part of the original filing when they were pro se. And it's a part of the court's record, so as far as that.
I was unaware of that, Your Honor. I'll withdraw my bill.
So the original agreement between the parties was 50-50 custody?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys, proceed onwards, and then, everyone the case is going on now. This case has gone on for quite a while, though.
Yes, for a very long time.
Now, during this time, Why haven't, what's been your position on the delay in bringing this case to a conclusion?
There's a number of factors. We've tried mediation 3 or 4 times. We have reached out. I even called the office of Mr. Jackson. One of the members there told me, do not contact us, have a lawyer contact us on some things. So I retreated. Every month I've called you, I've texted you to see if we can further this. Besides the mediation, there was no other way of getting this final until we went to a final divorce hearing.
So you've been wanting to move forward on this. You haven't been wanting.
Yes, I've been ready to go the very first day we put this in. The moment she filed for, she retained a lawyer, I went and retained a lawyer.
And do you want to see your boys?
Yes, I've seen my kids out in public. I've seen them in Ditch Sporting Goods where I'd have to leave because they were with her mother. I would see them out back playing around the fence where I couldn't honk the horn, wave at them. I've seen them out in stores, restaurants. 2 of my kids with a previous marriage has been able to contact them, but they cannot say, Dad misses you. They can't say, Dad can do this, or Dad can do that, or Dad loves you, because of the order of protection and restraining order that we've had in place for the last 3 years.
And you would want to bring this, resolve this action. Do you want to support your children?
Yes.
Yeah. Would you have any issue today with court ordering child support?
No.
Do you have any issue with the court ordering retroactive child support?
No.
You're happy to pay it, happy to support children?
Yes.
So you wanted to bring this forward. You just want to get this, you've been waiting for court date to get this done.
Yes.
And you want to see your boys?
Yes.
Okay. So on that, now there was talking about this order of protection. So there was this issue with the, with the order of protection. Ms. Baxter testified to that it was, stemming from January of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's been nearly 2 years. Now, can you tell us, with that case, what was the end result with it? Well,
so the end result was I went through a class. I went through a domestic violence class for 9 months. Every Monday, I paid my dues on time. I showed up on time. I stayed extra to help out other people. I even went and sought help from the VA as a combat veteran, and they had prescribed me medicine to help with my anxiety and my PTSD. So I've done everything I can except get her here to get this divorce finalized.
Absolutely. Bear with me.
Your Honor, Massengill's showing me some document here he wants to introduce. In my interrogatories back quite some time ago, I asked for any documents that were going to be introduced. And his response was, my request for production was produce any and all documents and or items that you intend to introduce as an exhibit in the trial of this matter. His response was, objection, as the interrogatory is overly broad, vague, not narrowly tailored to produce discoverable information, and not ripe, as respondent is not required to make such election at this time. This response will be reasonably updated once this matter approaches the trial date. On the 28th day of November, which is barely a week ago, I got a list of witnesses and an exhibits list. And this, and the interrogatories and request for production have not been updated since. So I've been under the impression, going to trial, that there wasn't going to be any witnesses and he wasn't going to produce any documents. And him coming in just a week before trial with a list of witnesses and documents is ambush. We hadn't had any opportunity at all to respond to any of this. And it's his responsibility to update it.
So are you objecting to the introduction of this document based upon the fact that it was not produced in discovery? What is the document?
It's a disposition of the case that the order of protection is based off of. And if I may, this is what I showed you before court that you agreed that you didn't have an issue with.
I said I didn't have a problem with you trying to admit it if it wasn't certified.
Your Honor, my response would be that, as referenced in the motion to continue from last time we were here, I referenced that neither party had updated or seasonally supplemented their discovery, and that was an issue. However, we did submit a defendant witness list, and it was submitted within the 10-day period prescribed by the local rules. It specifically notes in there as the first item.
I mean, this is a document which reflects what the actual outcome of the underlying criminal case was?
Yes, Your Honor, that's it.
And is there any dispute about it being accurate, or, he testified about, he can testify about it whether the document is introduced or not. There's nothing that would prevent him from being able to testify as to the disposition of that case. So I'll sustain the objection based on the fact that it was not introduced, but he can testify about what the disposition was.
Right, so talking about that case, so the underlying case that the order of protection was based off of, what was the end result? Is that case still pending?
No, the case has been closed and nothing has been recommended about it from here.
And you testified about this a little bit earlier, just to get back on it. So after that incident and the case that's been dismissed, what actions did you take to address any issues with anger or any problems that you had? You testified about this a little bit right before the
I went straight to the VA. I told them I needed help. They started me with counseling, and then they started me on medication.
And what was the basis for the counseling? What's your diagnosis?
So as a Marine Corps combat veteran, I have PTSD and TBI. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, and TBI is traumatic brain injury from being wounded 4 times in a Fallujah wreck.
And could you tell us a little bit about your military service? So you're a Marine. What were your tours doing?
So I was a Marine. I was a reservist as a 0331. That's United States Marine Corps machine gunner. My jobs in that role was a team leader. I was to set up the machine gun and direct fire at any and all foreign and any kind of enemy contact that we had.
And how many deployments overseas did you have in these younger, wilder years?
I have one with the United States Marine Corps.
And any others?
Yes, I had 2 more with KBR.
What is KBR?
KBR is a private contract group.
And so you've had these, and so after it happened, you went there. Tell us a little bit about the counseling you've been been participating in with the VA.
So the counseling I'm getting is a one-on-one with a Dr. LaCruz. He has helped me overcome my anger. He has helped me overcome my anxiety. I've never thought I needed help, but I truly did. And so I've went out and sought it. And this is to better myself and to better the relationship I have with my kids.
Approximately when did you start this counseling?
This was around February of 2022, and I have not stopped.
You're still
doing everything I can.
Yeah. And as far as the medication component, what kind of medication have they prescribed for you?
So it's an anxiety med. It's like a Bucerin or something like that. I have a picture of it, but I don't know what it's called medically. I'm supposed to take it once a day, twice if I'm starting to feel anxiety or if I'm stressed out, and that will help calm everything down.
And what other steps did you take after, starting in February 2022, to try to better yourself?
I've done everything that I can possibly can. I've bettered myself at the work location I'm at. I keep seeking a better position. I have went out and got help from, I'm trying to think, the 9-month course I had, they have extra counseling.
What's the 9-month course you had?
The domestic violence course.
Where was that completed at?
Ditson Main Street or Main Street. It's Main Street something. But this is also a place that Veronica and I went to go get divorce counseling or marriage counseling before we started having issues.
And how many classes were you required to complete?
I was required to take, I think it was 54.
And how many did you end up taking?
54.
Right there on it, got done. So you've done that. Now I want to shift gears a little bit. Well, you've done all these things. You've addressed these concerns, all that. Now, since this incident, have there been any other issues?
No, no other incidents.
No other problems? Nothing?
No interactions with the law, nothing.
All right. Now, I want to slide back here. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit now. We're going to talk a little bit about you and your employment. Where are you employed, sir?
SBL Logistics.
And what's your position there?
I'm a dock worker.
And now, what is your rate of pay? What's your hourly rate?
$24.89.
And when did you start getting paid $24.89?
This year.
Approximately?
Around February, we had a small raise due to the cost of living.
And before that, how much were you paid?
$22.50 an hour.
And how long had you been paid $22.50 an hour?
An hour, 1 year and 6 months.
Going back. So that's
going back.
Yeah. So let's see. So you have that. Now I'm just going to take a look at this. Could you identify the document for me, sir?
This is a marital property list.
All right. And who? That's you produced in Discovery, right?
Yes.
All right. And if you could go down here, it reflects what you believe is the appropriate division of marital property in question, right?
Yes.
All right. And if there's no objection, I move that this item be admitted to evidence as Exhibit A. So let's go down this briefly. So we got the just item by item. I want you to be able to briefly for the court tell us about your basis of value on these things, and then why you think which party should receive it. So the 1972 C10 truck, you estimate here that's current value is about $2,500.
Yes, that is wrong. That's we purchased it for $17,500, and the book value on it's like $8,000. So that is different right there.
Gotcha. All right, and the bedroom set?
There was 2 bedroom sets. One that was in the master bedroom, and the second bedroom set was 2 different sets of bunk beds.
And you think $500 is a fair value for it?
Yes.
Let's see, living room set, got that. Basically going through here, I mean, reviewing this, do all these values look accurate to you? Is there anything that you think needs to be amended?
No, everything looks fine here.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about the firearms. So we have the firearms here, and it's listed in omnibus category. They acquired varies, and we put value in there. So if you tell the court, what are the firearms in question?
We'll start with the pistols. There's 2 pistols. One is a Glock 42, I believe, or Glock 43. It is a single stack 9mm. The second Glock is a Glock 357 SIG, which is a Glock 32. Then we have 3 Brownings, a 7mm Browning mag, it's a deer rifle, a 270 Winchester short mag, which is a deer rifle, and then a Browning A5 Wicked Wing 12-gauge shotgun and a muzzleloader.
You must be a hunter.
Very much.
So if you could go through us briefly and tell the court kind of your breakdown on all the, or as far as these items go, which of these firearms do you think, or are you asking the court to award to Ms. Baxter, and which do you think should be awarded to you?
I would like to possess all the firearms. If the Glock 42/43, the single stack 9mm, is an issue, she can have it, no problems. I still have it in my possession, and it's functioning fine.
Yeah, no problem. Turn that over to the court awards, all right?
Yep.
And I'm going to shift gears briefly now. I know we've talked about some of the personal property. There's no real property, but let's talk about marital debt. So you guys acquire any debts during your marriage?
Yes, we did.
All right, and could you tell us what those debts are?
We had a few, well, multiple credit cards. We had 2 Capital Ones. We had a Merrick Bank, a Mission Lanes credit card, and a Credit One credit card. There was a Synchrage or some kind of credit card that I tried putting in my name, but she was primary. I was co-signer on it, so I could not switch that over into my name.
Okay. And as far as these go, are there any debts connected to any of the vehicles or any loans or?
Yes, so we have one main. This was a loan that I had taken out on my 2003 Chevy Silverado for a set of rings for her and I when we used to get married, or after we got married, for her to have.
And at the time of separation, what was the approximate balance of that loan?
I had an email sent to me from one of the jewelers here in Ditson that valued them at $12,000 to $15,000.
Sorry, I'm not asking the value of the rings. Asking what was the balance on the debt?
Oh, there was $7,000 still left on the 2003 Chevy Silverado.
All right, and that loan, so the loan was collateralized against.
Yes.
Okay, but it was for those rings.
Yes.
And accumulated during the marriage.
Yes.
And during the pendency, it was actually the last 3 years. Who's been making payments on that?
I have.
All right, and the entire time.
The entire time.
And what are the monthly payments on that?
I believe they are $504 a month.
Oh, for a month. All right. And are there any other debts connected to any vehicles or anything else out there?
The Nissan Sentra, the 2015 Nissan Sentra, was paid this year, paid in full by my insurance company, State Farm, due to a wreck, and there is now a lawsuit pending on that with $200,000.
That's been resolved. Okay.
Wait a minute. Now, is this the car that was wrecked?
Yes,
by
sir.
Someone else driving?
Yes, sir.
And it was a Sentra,
Yes, sir.
and you say that the insurance paid it off,
Yes, sir. My State Farm had paid off the lien against it.
right?
There was a little bit amount left on flagship. The State Farm paid them and then sent me a check. It has both of our names on it. And then
So how much was that check?
$5,800 some odd dollars, sir. It's been issued since April 15th of this year, and we have been
So
trying.
I'm handed by the clerk this check from April. How long is it check good for? Because this.
It does not have a date, sir. They said whenever we could get legally.
$5,863.43 is the amount of this check that's issued by State Farm.
Yes, sir.
It's made payable to Chris Baxter and Veronica Baxter.
Yes, sir.
Now tell me about this lawsuit you're talking about.
So the lawsuit consists of a Jesse Vanderpool. At the time, he was listed as a boyfriend in her deposition, and he had permission from her to drive the vehicle. I had talked with the Tennessee Highway Patrol officer that worked this wreck. He said that.
You can't quote what someone else tells you. I'm just trying to find out who's suing whom and for how much.
There is a Chris, I have the paperwork. I do not know his last name, but he is suing State Farm and myself for $200,000, $65,000 in medical fees, and $130-something thousand for restitution of whatever.
And is your wife's name on that lawsuit as well?
Yes.
All right, so he's suing you and Mrs. Baxter.
Yes.
For $200,000, alleging that because the accident was caused by this Jesse individual.
Yes, sir.
All right, I just wanted to make sure I knew what was going on. Thank you.
And this is at all times, this is the vehicle you maintain insurance on?
Yes, sir.
All right, and what was how much were you paying per month for the insurance?
The insurance would change various from $89 all the way up to $130.
And to $130 a month. And for the 3 years of this action's been pending, you've maintained the insurance at all times?
Yes.
Now, with the parties' initial agreement regarding the divorce, was there an understanding between the parties as to who would be insuring the Nissan that Ms. Baxter was driving and enjoying?
Yes. She said in the non-contested divorce, which is not presented, she said she would need 90 days to take the car loan, put it in her name, and have insurance on herself.
And did that ever happen?
No.
And you continue to Provide insurance, though?
Yes.
And why did you continue to provide insurance?
This was our boys. I wanted to make sure that they were safe and they were always taken care of. And this was a car for her and the boys, not for anybody else.
Now, with the pending lawsuit, during the pendency of this divorce, though, have you had any use or control of this Nissan vehicle?
No.
So it's been completely within Ms. Veronica Baxter's control at all times?
Yes.
So when the court, makes their decision today, an equitable division of assets and liabilities, you ask the court to assign any liability stemming from this wreck to Ms. Baxter?
Yes.
Now, let's talk a little bit. There's been some testimony about your benefits from the VA.
Yes.
So I can come up here. So you can tell us about that. So what are your VA benefits? Why do you get them?
The VA benefits is due to being overseas and being combat wounded.
And is there a component of your benefits that's based off having a spouse and children?
Yes.
And can you tell us approximately what that is?
For a wife is $250 up to $500, and per kid can be $70 up to $150.
All right. And so upon the entry of a final decree of divorce in this matter, what will the effect be on your benefits?
So once this takes place and we have to remove Veronica and Trenton, this will drop down anywhere from $500 to $750 from $2,100 a month.
Would you please identify this document for me?
This is a separate property list.
And who generated it? Who's created it?
What's that?
And you produced this as a part of Discovery?
Yes, I did.
All right. And so let's go through here. Well, is this a true and accurate representation and summation of the various items that you believe are separate property and therefore should be awarded to you by this court that have been held by Ms. Baxter?
Yes.
All right. If there's no objection, I move that become Exhibit 2. All right. Now let's just go through this briefly. If you could tell us. So we've heard a lot about this. There's been a lot of testimony about vehicles today. So there's this. So let's talk about this. Your first item is 2003 Chevy Silverado. It says you acquired it in 2007. When were you and Ms. Baxter married?
2015, February.
Okay. And you also have here indicated that it's still in her possession, though. So what's happened there?
This was different. The 1972 is still in her possession. The 2003 is in my possession.
Okay, so the 1972 have to be corrected. So 1972 Chevy Silverado, our truck is in your name,
Yes.
and you acquired it before the marriage,
Yes.
and it's still in her possession.
Yes.
Now, why is it still in her possession?
I'm not allowed to be around her. Court ordered.
But and you're asking the day that the court award that to you.
Yes.
And as far as these other items, we've got deep freezer, birth certificate. I won't belabor the court's time too much on these items. But can you tell us what's this DD-214 and DD-215?
So these are military documents that show that what my service was. They also show any awards that I was awarded while being deployed. They show my months of deployments, months of service. These are very hard to obtain. It takes up to 6 years to get these back through the VA now.
And you've asked to get these? Yeah.
I was asked to get these. I was handed a blue notebook by Miss Veronica due to the judge ordering it, but I was never given my DD-214, DD-215, nor my Social Security, nor my birth certificate, or my passport.
All right, military medals or anything of that nature?
Nothing.
So, all right. Anything? Here's I think we've talked about what property and debt there is to divide. I think we've covered that. So let's circle back to the meat of the issue. So tell me a little bit about your family. We're here. Your boys, Miss Baxter, are Jackson and Carter.
Yes, Jackson and Carter.
Yeah. Now, also, what other children do you have?
I have Spencer Baxter and Addison Baxter with my first marriage. And then I have Jackson and Carter with Veronica. And then I have a Cooper Baxter with Kristen Robertson.
Gotcha. Now, this Spencer and Addison, who's their mother?
Their mother is Mandy. She goes by Mandy Gale or Mandy Lane Bishop.
I think we're going to hear from her later. And what's the custody arrangement with Ms. Bishop?
She has sole custody, but we have a 50-50. The kids can come over and go as they please.
So approximately the children spend, you say sole custody, so she's primary, but
She's primary, but we both split at any time. We can have the kids 5, 7 days, 2 or 3 months, any given time.
about 50-50.
Yes.
And with Cooper, you guys have him. Where does he reside? All right. And so, have there been any issues with Spencer, Addison, anything?
There's not been any issues. There has been a few things where they can talk to Jackson via text message, via Snapchat, via social media. It seems like Jackson has reached out in the last year. And previous to this, Addison, my daughter, and him went to the same school. They got to talk to each other every day.
And what's the relationship between Spencer and Addison and Jackson and Carter?
Addison is very close with Jackson. Those two they're definitely brother and sister. They talk almost all the time. Spencer just now started coming around with Jackson. They've been talking about hunting. So this year has been a good year for Spencer and Jackson reuniting. I don't know if Carter has a tablet or anything of that nature. I don't know if he's been contacted or not.
So, so you'd say they talk a lot, bonded, all
Yes.
that? Yeah. Now, and what school do Spencer and Addison attend?
Spencer goes to the Dixon County High School. Addison goes to the middle school right now. At the time before this year, Addison had went to Oakmont with Jackson and Carter, where she had helped Jackson and Carter every morning with breakfast and got to talk to them. And when she graduated from Oakmont, she went to middle school. And now Jackson's in 6th grade.
Sure. So they strong bond there. And you mentioned Oakmont. So where you reside, are you zoned for Oakmont?
Yes, I am.
And where Miss Baxter resides, is she zoned for Oakmont?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see that. I want to circle around on one last thing. So you heard the testimony earlier about way back about this question about whether Ms. Baxter had any interactions with third parties around the time you guys filed.
Yes, there was a few. One that I got to see firsthand. The guy friend that she had let stay over was a former football player that I'd been friends with, Jason Albert. I had not fully moved out. This happened the month before October, so this was in September. I had walked into the apartment and walked into the main bedroom, and there Jason Albert was laying in my bed with Veronica Baxter.
And what happened next?
I woke up, I went over, woke him up, and I said, Jason, you need to leave. He was in a daze, didn't know what was going on. So I went back outside to get my little brother, who was working with me at the time. We worked at CMI Constructors. And I told my brother, I said, I don't want no problems, so please come in here and make sure everything goes smooth. So as he come in there, he had walked into the main bedroom, and he had said, Jason, you need to get the hell out right now. Nobody had no firearms. Nobody had no threats. Nobody was threatened to whoop anybody. Before anything could happen, Veronica had gotten up, left, ran out, got in her 2015 Nissan Sentra, and left Jason there to put his clothes on. He was shirtless. He had boxer briefs on. He walked out to the living room, put his jeans on, put his boots on, got his shirt on, said, I'm sorry, Chris, and walked out the door.
And he had been laying in the bed with Miss Baxter.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned there are no firearms. Now, there are firearms around the house, or you just mean there were no firearms pulled?
There was no firearms in the house. There was no firearms pulled. There was no firearms in our vehicle.
And he left. There's no incidents, no violence?
Incidents, no violence, no law, nothing. He walked out the door, not harmed, no verbal threats, nothing.
So you walked in on another man laying in your bed with your wife, and he walked out and there was no fighting.
No violence.
When did you start your relationship with this Miss Robinson?
2000, late 2018, 2019. This was about.
Was this before or after you walked in and found her in bed?
This was Right during the time. This was right during the time that I'd started
You were
seeing.
seeing somebody else, right?
Yes, yes.
And you walked in and you found a
Yes.
man in your wife's bed?
Yes.
Or what was your bed? The moral outrage doesn't seem to really apply here because both of them appear to be engaged in other relationships. So
You know,
I'm not saying you were having moral outrage, but, you know, it basically equals out. What I can do is simply find they're both at fault and dismiss the divorce without granting it.
I think
Which is
the
a
parties.
grounds- I can do that.
Your Honor, I offer this testimony.
But I'll let you go ahead. You go ahead and put on your proofs.
Sure. I think it speaks to the credibility of the issue of, you know, the question of what was going on there, A. And B, I think it also speaks to the issue of my client versus Ms. Baxter's propensity for violence. That was the reason. I think the party would stipulate that, you know, as to
I understand.
grounds. Is there anything else that you think you'd like to cover? Anything else that you think the court should hear? Or
I'm not sure how credible this could be. The time that Chris and I had started to engage in a relationship, Veronica and her were very close. Apparently they were best friends at the time. And Miss Veronica had told Kristen that she was seeing another guy.
Object, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Staying that would seem to be secondhand hearsay. So.
and anything else you think?
Not that the October 15th incident with the boys, with me going to get them while she had a girls' night out. I contacted a Ditson County Sheriff's deputy. The name was Hunter England, and I told him the situation. He said, "You are more than welcome to go get your kids. Just make sure there's no trespassing signs on there, and knock on the door and be nonchalant." As soon as Miss Veronica told me, "Do not go over there. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to have kids. You're not allowed to any of this," I went to go get the kids while she was out having a girls' night, which was fine. I thought that was perfectly okay. Went over there. I didn't even get to knock on the door. And Veronica had called the police, not her mom, Veronica. Dispatch comes over. There's a guy trying to get his kids. So Hunter England dispatches out. White Bluff dispatches out. At the time I get out of the vehicle to go up to the door, Veronica, Lisa Baker, and Brandy McAllister had pulled up. Veronica had exited the vehicle and said, "You're not getting our kids. You're not going to ruin my night. Where's your bitch at? Show me where she's at." And I said, "She is in the car." As soon as I told her where she was at, Veronica walked over to the car, pulled out Kristen by her hair, and that's when a physical altercation presented itself. My daughter, Addison Lane Baxter, was in the car. My son, Cooper James Robertson, was in the car.
Let's see. Anything else? So today, you're asking the court, based on everything, the work you've done and various efforts you've taken to remediate any issues you have, are you asking the court today to set aside the order of protection and to grant custody?
Yes.
And what would you ask the court to award?
Today I asked for the final divorce to happen. Most importantly is the kids. I'd suggest that we do 50-50. If there's any child support in there, so be it. I understand that our boys are on state insurance. I can provide insurance. I provide insurance for Spencer Baxter and Addison Baxter that was with my first marriage. I just want 50-50. We live 7/10 of a mile away from each other. There should be no reason why I can't have 50-50. I'm a combat veteran. I have a Purple Heart. I have a NAM with Combat V. I've served my country. I tried serving the city of Ditson, but the hands before me, I wasn't able. So here I am.
That's what it's, Judge.
Yeah, Your Honor.
You may.
Well, you're a combat veteran, you've got a Purple Heart, and you're a stand-up guy, right?
Yes, sir.
And why aren't you paying child support?
We are not finalized through the court here. We have tried and tried and tried to get this parenting plan.
Telling me you have to have a court order to support your children?
No, but I have
Then
to.
why haven't you supported them?
Well, I'm not allowed to go around. We have not settled this in court. I've done everything I can on my end.
You are?
Yes, sir. I've done everything on my end.
You also say that the most important part of all this is your children,
Yes,
that you've not paid one penny
yes,
support,
yes,
not one.
not one.
Doesn't sound like they're very important to you.
Well, the court has to make this happen.
And
We
the court will. I can assure you that.
We are here for that today.
But you haven't.
No, sir.
Now, in the interrogatories I sent you, I asked you in interrogatory number 24, asked if you had disposed of or sold, concealed, hidden, or transferred any item of separate or marital property since the date of the filing of this action or since your separation from your spouse. If so, provide description, how the item was acquired, to whom the item was sold.
Yes, sir.
You answered that the item, the description was a Glock 42 9mm.
Yes,
It was originally acquired in November 2019 by you purchasing it,
yes.
and that you sold it to Silas Browning, your brother.
Silas Bolton. Yes, sir.
You testified when your attorney questioned you that you still had both those Glocks.
Yes, sir. Still do.
But how can you still have both of them when you sold one to your brother?
My brother had an accident and the firearm was sent off and it was put back to the legal owner, which was myself when I signed for it.
I didn't understand that at all. Your brother had an accident?
Yes, sir.
What kind of an accident?
Apparently he fell and Glocks have no safeties. The gun went off and entered him in his left leg.
So you got your pistol back.
Yes, sir.
When did that happen?
January 1st of 2022. This was New Year's. Life flight had flown right over our house, and I got a phone call from a couple of city officers that my brother had been in a shooting incident.
What was the date?
January 1st, 2022.
Well, you answered these interrogatories on January the 11th, 2022.
Yes, sir.
So you already had the Glock back?
No, ATF had TBI had the Glock. I didn't get the gun back for 6 months because of TBI having it, making sure it was still functioning, that it wasn't a malfunction that happened on top of the Glock.
Do you have a 401k?
Yes, I do.
Where you work?
Yes.
When did you start that plan?
As soon as I did employment there.
But it's during the course of your marriage.
Yes.
How much do you have in that 401k?
$200 roughly.
How much do you contribute to it?
None.
Monthly?
Zero.
So you just have the plan, nothing in it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the market started crashing, so I stopped paying into 401.
I asked you in the request for production of documents about that 401k, and you didn't respond. Would you supply me with documents from your employer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As to the value of that 401k?
Yes, sir.
That shows all contributions and all withdrawals?
Yes, sir.
Now, the child you have with the lady you're living with now is named Cooper.
Yes, sir.
And when was Cooper born?
Cooper was born July 26, 2018. 2018.
What was the date of separation between you and your wife? When did you leave?
I had left October 15th, 2019.
So you left in 2019, but you had a child by this woman in 2018.
Yes. It could have been 2019 when Cooper was born. I'm not sure on that exact date.
But the point is that she had the child while you were still living with your wife.
Yes, sir.
Now, this Nissan car, that's the automobile you operated.
The 2015 Nissan Sentra?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And that's one of the debts you described that you had.
Yes, sir.
And you possess that car and you operate that car.
I did not possess that car after we had separated. No. Before then, yes, we had both operated it together as a married couple.
Where is it now?
I have no idea.
You show it as marital property. Is this the car that was wrecked?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what car do you operate?
I operate a 2020 Nissan Altima.
You don't show that as marital property.
This was acquired after the separation.
Did you own it in 2022?
Yes. Paying for it, yes.
Well, you bought it during the term of the marriage, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
But because you're separated, you don't think it's marital property? Is that what you're saying?
No, sir.
You
I
don't
haven't
think
said
so?
that.
Is there anything else that you purchased during the course of this marriage that you don't think is marital property?
Not that I can recall at this time, sir.
But you're claiming the car you drive is yours completely,
Yes, sir.
even though she doesn't have a car to drive and hasn't had for quite some time.
She had a 2015 Nissan Sentra that was wrecked by her boyfriend in the deposition of her boyfriend being there with her and her allowing him to
Do
drop
you mind
it.
answering the question?
What's the question again, sir?
The question was, you had this car and you were operating it
The
all this
2020?
time, even
Yes.
though she had no car at all.
I didn't know she didn't have a car after the car was wrecked. I didn't know that her and her boyfriend had purchased another one or if they're borrowing another one because I'm not allowed to be over there. I have an order of protection against me and a restraining order.
I understand that, sir. I can
Okay.
read just like you can. What I'm telling you is you're operating this car, you bought it during the course of your marriage,
Yes, sir.
but you're saying it's not marital property. And at the same time, when her car got wrecked, you wouldn't give her the money to buy another one when the insurance company paid you for it.
Yes, but she had gotten a car seat that the insurance paid her.
Car seat?
A car seat that was involved in this car wreck.
Oh, so insurance company paid her for a car seat, paid $5,000 for the car, and you wouldn't give her the money to buy a car to replace the one that was wrecked.
No, we had offered that check for a split and nobody has returned our question or answers. I'm willing to split the check right now, but nobody wants that. She wants the full money.
How do you know what she wants?
I don't.
Why are you saying that's what she wants when you don't know it?
When we offered the checkup, it was, please, I want it all from you or her.
I never said anything like that.
And why couldn't we get the check cashed?
That's all I have at this time.
With the judge?
Let me ask a couple of questions, then Mr. Massingill, you can. I want to go over these guns with you. I have some familiarity with firearms, so let me ask my questions. I understand the Glock 42, which is a 9mm, and that was one that you had. Do you have any idea what the value of that gun was?
Right now, it's valued at $350.
And then you had the Glock 32, which I understood you to say was a 357, but then I understood you to say something about a SIG, and I take that to be a 6 Sauer.
It's a Glock, but it's a 357 SIG, is what it's pronounced as.
Right. And what is that one worth?
That one's worth $500.
Right. And then you have the Browning 7mm mag,
$1,300.
Browning 270 short mag.
$600.
I'm sorry,
$600.
600. Then you have the Browning 8.5 12 gauge.
$1,500.
Is that a pump or
A semi-automatic shotgun.
and then you had the muzzle loader.
Yes, sir. Which is $500.
Right. Now, Mr. Massingill.
Just to clear up a little bit, you talked about child support. Now, you testified and just reiterating, you have any issue with paying child support?
No, sir.
Do you want to pay child support?
Yes.
Have you wanted to pay child support?
Yes.
Have you wanted to see your children?
Yes.
Have you wanted to bring this matter to a conclusion?
Yes, years ago.
And did you want to proceed years ago with mediation?
Yes, we have tried 3 times with mediation.
Did you sorry.
And we have not gotten anywhere.
And you wanted to get this done?
Yes.
Okay, so you have no issue with that, and you're fine with retroactive. You want to see your kids, you want to
Yes.
support them.
Yes.
As far as that, no contributions. Well, we can look at that. Nissan Sentra. Now, just for clarification, that's the vehicle that was wrecked by Miss Baxter's paramour, who she's had a child with, Mr. Jesse Vanderpool.
Yes.
All right, and to clarify everything, you had expressed a willingness to divide it a little bit, the check, and tell us about that.
Yes. So I don't feel like I'm entitled to everything. I want it to be 50-50 down the door. I'm willing to split the check, but the lawsuit, why am I getting hit with a $200,000 lawsuit?
Anything else you can think of that the court needs to hear?
Not that I can think of.
That's what this judge.
Judge? Thank you, sir. You can step down.
Thank you.
MegsCW, you can call your next witness.
I call Miss Kristen Robinson.
I object on the same basis as earlier, Your Honor. I didn't have 10 days notice of this. I asked for a list of the witnesses in the interrogatory, didn't supply it, said he'd supplement it. 10 days ago today, I got his witness list and his documents he was going to do, less than 10 days. It's just not supposed to work that way, Your Honor.
Well, there are a lot of things about our system that's not supposed to work the way they seem to work by practice or by, the lack of adherence to it. Had he not given you a witness list, I would sustain your objection, but having given you a witness list, it at least put you on notice that he intended to call this person, and I think that notice is what the requirement is. So I'm going to overrule the objection and allow this witness to testify.
And if I could have a moment, I need to see if Ms. Franklin, if she's just waiting around for this or if she has another case. I might call her to be able to get her out of here, though.
Who?
Miss Sydney Franklin.
And you're going to call her for what purpose?
She's a witness, Your Honor.
She's what?
A witness, Your Honor. Let me ask her if she's here for any other purpose. Yeah, she's waiting around just for this, Judge, so I'll go ahead and get Miss Franklin out of here. Yeah.
Ms. Franklin, if you'll come forward and raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, whole truth.
She's number 4. Please state your name for the record, ma'am.
Sydney Franklin.
And where do you, I know it's public broadcast, I don't know if you want your address out there. You're resident of Dixon County?
I am.
All right, and let's see. Now, how do you know Mr. Baxter?
Mr. Baxter is my next door neighbor.
Okay. And how long has he been your next door neighbor?
I think that they moved in about the fall of 2020. So for at least 3 years.
At least 3 years. And and during that time, how often have you had interactions with Mr. Baxter?
I mean, we probably see each other just about every day coming in or out.
And have you seen him interacting with Miss Robinson?
Yes.
And have you seen him interacting with his children?
Yes.
Right. And in the 3 years you've known him, how would you describe his relationship with his children?
From what I can see from my personal observations, he seems to be a good father, present father. They're outside a lot, especially when the weather's nice. They've set up a basketball goal. You'll see them out playing basketball. You'll see the youngest ride around on a bike or one of those little four-wheeler motorized ones, not a real four-wheeler, but you'll see them outside playing with the kids pretty much every day, especially if the weather's nice.
And they play and run around. Now, during this time, now, with Mr. Baxter, are you afraid of him?
No,
Has he ever been aggressive with you?
never.
Has he ever threatened you?
No.
And this is your chance. He's sitting there. There's nothing he can do about it. As a neighbor, how is he? Does he not take the trash down to the curb? How would you describe him as a neighbor?
Oh, he's great. He'll take my garbage to the curb for me. I don't know if it's him or Kristen, but one of them takes my garbage to the curb sometimes. They move it back because they just kind of throw it in our driveway and they won't deliver the mail. So one of them will put the trash can back. Mr. Baxter's came to my inside and put up shelves in my house for me. I'm not afraid at all of Mr. Baxter.
No, but you live alone though, right?
I do.
So, single female right there, and he's your next door neighbor, but you never felt fear or anything?
Absolutely not.
You see him playing with his children out in the front yard and taking your garbage down from time to time?
I think I'm going to speculate. I believe that it is likely Mr. Baxter. It is someone in that house who takes my garbage out.
Now, in your observations, is there anything else you'd like to tell the court about, living next to him, his demeanor, anything else you think the court needs to know?
From my observations, he's always been a present father. I've never seen him, be angry or threatening or engage in any type of behavior to that. He and Kristen have always been friendly to me since they've lived there. I think that they are great neighbors. There are people who've lived there before they did, and I would easily say that they are better neighbors than my previous neighbors.
Well, thanks so much. I guess I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson, you have any questions?
Do you think he's a pretty good fellow?
From my own observations, yes.
Would it change your opinion any if you found out that he's been separated from his wife for 3 years and has paid absolutely no support for 2 children?
I don't know anything about that. I know that he's been separated since he's lived there.
But his failure to pay child support, would that change your opinion of him?
On whether he's a good father or a good person?
Yes.
Not based on my own interactions with him.
Or
Not based on my own interactions with him. I don't see him being someone who doesn't pay. But
he hasn't.
Okay.
And that doesn't change your opinion of him?
I think that people should pay their child support obligations, yes.
I think that's about all I'm gonna get, huh?
Anything further?
That's all I have.
I got a few questions.
Yes, Judge.
I'll reserve them for a future time. Not often I have an attorney who practices before me in court on a regular basis on the witness stand under oath where I could ask a question, so I'll defer.
I appreciate it.
Franklin, you may step down.
Thank you.
You may call your next witness.
Good. Call Miss Kristen Robinson.
Robinson, if you'll come around, please.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and let the clerk place you under oath.
All right, please state your name for the record.
Kristen Lee Robinson,
And where do you currently reside?
apartment B here in Dixon.
And Mr. Baxter?
I do.
Okay, so we've been a lot of testimony here today. If you could just walk us through, your relationship with Mr. Baxter. Could you tell us a little bit about just the history, like a brief foundation?
Okay. Chris has known my younger brother for years. They used to run around like when my brother was in high school. I started hanging out with friends with Veronica and Chris back in July of 2018 when Daniel Baker was killed. We started hanging out because we did a benefit together.
All right, and started hanging out in July 2018. And at what point did the friendship take a turn to the romantic?
I was hanging out with Veronica frequently. my ex-husband and I were having issues. Prior to that, we had gone with Veronica and Chris for Veronica's birthday in Nashville. We had stayed the night over there that night. Continued to hang out after that. When I'd gone over there at other times, Veronica and Chris had been arguing and fighting, and she would have him sleep on the couch over there. And when I was over there, I was sleeping on the couch as well. We used to ride around and talk for hours, like after I had worked during my shifts at work. And we just kind of hung out at that point in time. One thing led to another. Chris and I stopped talking all the way around in November of that year. And I found out I was pregnant in December after my husband and I were going to file for divorce at that time. We ended up not filing for divorce. And then December 27th is when I found out I was pregnant with my child.
And who's your child?
Cooper Robinson.
And you believe that Cooper is Mr. Baxter's child?
I do.
And what's your basis for that belief?
The paternity test. I honestly was not having any sexual interactions with my ex-husband at the time, and he had had a vasectomy.
And you guys have entered in a petition for legitimation for this honorable court?
Correct.
Agreed between all parties? Pending? Good. So going forward, so you guys had this interaction. Now, how did you get to observe Mr. Baxter and Miss Baxter at their home?
I did at times.
All right. Now, how would you describe their interactions?
Chaotic.
Chaotic? Yeah. Please proceed.
There were multiple occasions they were fighting at times. Veronica had even left the home and left me at the home alone with Chris during those situations and encounters.
And
they had, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're fine, go ahead.
They said they were filing divorce on multiple occasions on both parties. They actually had paperwork filled out and sitting on their counter several times when I had gone over there, and they hadn't honestly, I guess, filed the paperwork.
You testified you and Veronica had been friends, you'd hung out. At what point did she become aware of you and Mr. Baxter's relationship?
She had questioned it throughout the summer. Chris and I honestly had quit talking after I found out I was pregnant with Cooper. From that November through December, I did let him know I was pregnant at the time. I had honestly told him I was having an abortion because I actually went through clinics for that because my two older kids are older and I wasn't planning on having any other kids. At that time, my husband was aware I was pregnant during all of that. And then when it come time to go have the abortion, I went to the first appointment, decided that that wasn't for me because I honestly don't believe in them. But I'd never been put in a situation to where I had honestly needed to question one. I had told Chris at one point in time that I'd had an abortion because I didn't want to ruin his marriage at the time. We determined at the time that we would just be friends. And he would continue to raise his kids with his wife and so forth. Veronica found out about Cooper in, it was October. It was the fall festival weekend for White Bluff Fall Festival at the time. My husband never asked whose kid it was. He didn't care at that point. And when it surfaced, I ended up telling Veronica myself that Cooper was, in fact, Chris's child.
So moving forward, so yeah, that came out, you know, Mr. Baxter and Miss Baxter decided to separate. They do that. Now, going forward, from there on, can you describe your relationship with Mr. Baxter?
We didn't talk from that point in October. From what I was told is that they were going to work on their marriage. She wouldn't allow him to have any contact with me over Cooper. Chris and I did not talk from that day in October until the beginning of May of the following year, of 2020.
So now we could focus in a little bit about after the separation, though. So you mentioned that before Mr. and Miss Baxter, separated, and he described the relationship as chaotic, So then after they separate, they filed in 2020 now what, can you walk us forward in time there with your relationship with Mr. Baxter?
During that time, Chris and I still just hung out. He didn't see Cooper initially for 2 months after we were just talking as friends. He asked about Cooper, asked about seeing Cooper, and I wouldn't let him see him because I didn't want him in and out of my child's life, not knowing if he was going to be in the picture at that point in time. Veronica didn't know that we were still friends at that point in time when we reunited in May of that year. Once she found out, Cooper honestly had 15 seizures in one night and was transferred from Horizon Medical Center to Vanderbilt by ambulance. Veronica had him reach out to me by phone, and even told him to come to the house to see Cooper. They still were arguing. There was one incident, Chris was sleeping in another room at their house from what I was told, and she had been aggressive and like hit him with something in the house. He had seen me the following day and had claw marks like on his neck and on his face from where she had hit him and stuff.
All kinds of problems, yeah. So that's fine, that had a chaotic relationship. Let's move forward a little bit. So after they filed for divorce, you and Mr. Baxter moved in to where you currently reside. So, and then you guys, could you tell me about that, walking forward? So as you guys cohabitated, how's Mr. Baxter as a father?
Good father. He interacted with Cooper, which is our youngest child. He was seeing his other children. We would do things on the weekends when we had all of them.
Which other children?
Carter and Jackson.
Well, this is early on, all right. Now,
and then his other two children as well, with Carter and Jackson.
Yes. So, full house, right? So, and that continued until the incident in January of 2022, right? Okay, and there's been lots of testimony about that, so I'm not going to run over that again. But so what can you tell, what has Mr. Baxter done after that incident, though, to address any concerns about anger or any other issues with anger management?
He completed the course he needed to go to, which was 24-step course. He's followed up with his doctor at the VA and had checks for that and checked out for that for health reasons. He continues to keep our 4-year-old, anytime he's sick, he'll miss work with him. I'm a nurse manager at a facility and I can't always miss work. So he will adjust his schedule to keep our youngest. He arranges his schedule to pick my other 2 kids up from school events. He's attended all their school events as far as my daughter's in drama club. She goes to drama plays. He has his 2 other children that we get on rotation. We go to their sports events and attend all of those. And then we always have activities on weekends that we do with the kids when we have them all. And he makes sure dinner's ready when I get home from work on the days that I have to work late. He picks the toddler up from daycare and spends time with him, takes him to see family. We're very family oriented with my family and go for family dinners on Sundays, usually every other week.
And you still reside with Mr. Baxter?
I do.
And since this incident in January of 2022, have there been any other issues with him?
No.
No further problems, nothing?
Nothing.
Any complaints? I mean, here's your chance. He's got to sit there. You can say whatever you want. Maybe he doesn't clean up enough. Any other issues with him?
No, I mean, I'll make comments every now and then about laundry and stuff, but he will have all the laundry done and hung up when I get home from work. I mean, he honestly goes above and beyond with getting the kids picked up. I do have a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. I had a daughter that was in the psych hospital at one point in time over some stuff. I mean, he went and spent the days with her in those. We had family counseling in home for behavioral counseling for her when she had some suicide attempts. And he was very involved with the counselors through youth villages that come to the house 3 times a week for counseling and interactions with the child. He attended all of those.
And you've been really involved with the case also, throughout. Now, have you or Mr. Baxter wanted to delay the case or drag your feet?
Not at all. It's honestly been miserable throughout it all.
Have y'all been, have you been wanting to move forward and get this resolved? Have you been wanting, the court set child support to set a custody plan? Have you been, bugging his all over the place, terrible attorney from time to time about, trying to push things along?
All the time, through emails and calls.
Absolutely. Oh, hey, but at all times, you guys have been ready to move forward and you're happy for this day.
Correct.
And I'll circle around to this. There's some testimony earlier about incident between you and Ms. Baxter, and so I want you to be able to explain your side of it. So going back to the beginning, talking about the chaotic relationship with powder keg, Ms. Baxter and Mr. Baxter together. And there was an incident between you and Ms. Baxter at this time. Could you describe that for us?
Chris was going to get his kids. We had my child, which is Cooper, which is the one we have together, with us in the car, and his daughter, who was 9 at the time. Chris was supposed to get his kids. Veronica was out with some other friends. They had been drinking. The kids were at her mom's house. She denied the kids being at her mom's house. Her mom would answer the phone when he called to try to get her kids. She wouldn't let him get the kids. He said he was on his way to pick them up. We get to her mom's house. He goes to knock on the door. She would not let him get the kids at that point in time. Veronica shows up with Lisa Baker and Brandy McAllister in the vehicle over there. Veronica and Chris were arguing out there. Veronica was pushing on him in the front yard. She's yelling at him, asking where I was, and he said I was in the front seat of the car. She goes and opens the car door while I'm leaned over to the back seat with my child, who was just 1 at the time, and literally pulls me out of the car by the neck and claws me by the neck and starts trying to hit me, and we got in an altercation.
So she opened the door and she came.
And the police were notified that night and would not arrest either one of us. They told me to go to the courthouse the following morning and file assault charges on her.
And in all that, is there anything else you think the court needs to know? Anything else you'd like to say?
Veronica has been ongoing as far as harassment and keeping things instigated throughout this. There's been several attempts where the younger, or Jackson, has messaged the phone of Chris's asking to see his dad and talk to his dad, and Chris cannot respond to those messages.
We have an objection. Hold on.
She's testifying what some child said. It's really hearsay.
I have the messages on that.
Ma'am, when I'm considering an objection, you just be quiet, okay? And the objection is to the statement of hearsay. She's testifying about things that occurred. She's not necessarily quoting what's being said. Overrule the objection.
And the kids had messaged their dad. I sent Veronica a personal message stating that the kids were messaging him, the order of protection was in place, and that he could not respond, so the kids shouldn't be messaging. She continuously sent messages back and forth stating that he was a horrible father. If he gave any care about those kids, he would put forth effort on seeing them when he doesn't care, and had called him a sperm donor in those messages. Then on my birthday of this year, Veronica sent me a text message saying verbatim, "Happy birthday, bitch," to continuing to start stuff out of nowhere. The message.
Had you guys been texting back and forth?
Absolutely not.
Out of the blue? Okay.
What's the relevance of this?
Sustained is not relevant.
Anything else you think the court should know?
No, he tried to see his kids, and that she just continued to keep things instigated when he could.
Pass the witness, Judge. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, let's break for lunch until, we'll do your cross-examination after lunch. We'll be at lunch until 1:30.
All rise. Just trying to log in, Your Honor, and it should be available shortly. And so this will be brief.
Any reason why she wasn't already logged in?
Y'all know, Your Honor, she's I think she says she's teaching. Let's see.
The only question is because we have a full day, a full docket, and we have folks who are waiting. So if your witnesses are not going to be available, we'll proceed without them. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes for her to come in. Otherwise, we're proceeding.
Sure.
Mr. Jackson, are you going to have any other proof after this?
5 minutes of rebuttal. Maybe not that long.
Bishop has joined us. I've allowed her to come in. I'm going to ask her to unmute and to turn on her camera.
One is not here. And then work with another one. Look at Titus.
Bishop, we're in the middle of a court hearing. You've been called as a witness. If you are able to testify, then I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and let me place you under oath. Can you hear
I'm sorry.
me?
I can. I have a classroom full of kids, though.
All right. Raise your right hand and let's place you under oath. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Massengill is here. He can ask you questions.
All right, hello, Ms. Bishop, how are you today?
Good.
Good. Now, please state your name for the record.
Mandy Gale Bishop.
And where do you currently reside?
105 Westwell Holloway, Dixon, Tennessee.
And how do you know Mr. Baxter?
He's my ex-husband and then father to my 2 kids.
All right. And could you tell us a little bit about y'all's custody arrangement? So how often are y'all's children, Addison, Spencer, with Mr. Baxter?
So I have full custody of them, but they are allowed to go there anytime they wish to go there.
And roughly how often are they over there?
My son goes there probably 2-3 times a week, at least to go see him, and my daughter may go there 2 or 3 times a month.
All right. And while you've seen him with his children, how is his demeanor with y'all's children?
Hey, they're good.
How is he parenting wise?
I'm not like in the household with him. If I have a problem, I can call him and talk to him, and I will work it together.
Have you guys had any, serious problems, anything going on?
No, not lately.
Are you afraid for your children to be around Mr. Baxter?
No.
All right, let's see. And I think, and you've witnessed him parenting, trying to think anything else. Anything else you would like to tell the court about Mr. Baxter and his relationship with the children?
No, they talk on a daily basis. He tries to get a hold of it. I know my son calls him multiple times a day. So.
Thanks so much. I promise to be brief. I'm going to pass the witness now. Thank you, ma'am.
Right. Thank you.
There are no questions for you, ma'am, from the other side, so we're going to let you leave our hearing. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Massengill, you may call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. I was wondering if I'd like to redirect Mr. Baxter just to clarify a quick point if possible.
All right. Mr. Baxter, if you want to come back to the stand, please. I would remind you, you remain under oath.
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Baxter, I wanted to, clarify a few points earlier. There was this talk about this 2020 vehicle you got.
Yes, I have a 2020 Nissan Altima.
All right, and now, is that vehicle paid off?
No, sir.
And what's the balance on that vehicle?
$30,000.
Yeah, approximately 30,000?
Yes.
Is that incurred solely in your name?
Yes.
So, and you testify that you believe the value is approximately 20,000 and the amount owed is about 30,000?
Yes.
Okay. Now, also, as far as the debts, I think we covered the one main earlier. I believe we covered this, but just to clarify, the loan for the truck from Ultra Federal Credit Union.
Yes.
Do you remember what the balance of that was around the time of separation?
I think it was around 6,000 to 9,000.
All right. During the pendency of this action, who's paid that off?
I have.
100%?
100%.
Now, are there any other debts that you've paid off solely throughout the course of the marriage?
Yes. There's 2 credit cards I've paid off.
What was the balance on those?
Roughly 300 to 500.
All right, get that. Now, briefly, let's see if we've testified about the relationship between the children. Thank you, Judge. Fast witness.
One question: which truck was it that had the owed $6,000 to $9,000 on?
6,900, sir. It was the 1972 C10.
That's the one that you've had all restoration work done on?
I've never had any restoration done on it. I bought it as is from Bobby Hargrove.
$17,000?
Yes, sir.
Did you say it's worth $2,500?
No, sir. I corrected it during our previous exam that it was worth $8,000.
How much do you owe on it?
It's paid off, sir.
And the car you're driving is Altima?
Yes, 2020 Altima.
You owe 20 and it's worth 30?
No, I owe 30. It's probably worth 20 to 25,000.
So you're upside down on your car?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Do you have any other vehicles?
2003 Chevrolet 1500 Silverado.
Where is it located?
It's with me. The 1972 C10 is with Veronica.
And how much is the truck you have with you worth?
Roughly 5,000. I know I'm upside down on it with the one main loan I've taken out on it.
What's it worth?
5 tops, maybe, sir. 1,000.
That's all, Your Honor.
Testify, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Baxter. You can stand down.
Thanks, sir.
No further witness, Judge.
Mr. Jackson, you may put on any rebuttal proof. She's already been sworn. I would remind you, you remain under oath.
This lawsuit they're talking about regarding the wreck that happened with your car, are you a party to that lawsuit?
I'm unaware of that, sir.
You haven't been sued.
No, sir.
You're not a party.
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
So they've sued your husband and the insurance carrier, not you.
Correct. I just found out about that today.
First you've ever heard of it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's been some testimony about having a hard time getting this to trial. I send you copies of everything I do.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall when the interrogatories and requests for production of documents were sent?
I don't recall the exact date. I want to say it was shortly after we filed in 2020, maybe beginning of 2021.
Were they filed in March?
Yes, sir. It took 2 attempts to get Chris to get those over.
And did we have to file any motions to compel answers to that?
Yes, sir. And from there, he
And then it was
had,
10 months after that we finally got them 10 months after we requested them.
yes, we got them January the 13th of 2022.
And then I believe this matter was set for trial shortly after that
Yes,
to be tried on September 29th.
yes,
And they filed a motion to continue it,
correct.
and it was continued.
Yes, sir.
So just so the timeline's right, we got the answers sometime in January.
Mhm.
We got it set for trial in September, and then it got continued from that and then bumped off the docket and back here today.
Sir.
The other things, I want you to give me your version of the fight that
Between-
you allegedly had with his girlfriend.
They were at my parents' house trying to pick up my children because I was having a girls' night. Due to everything, they arrived at my mother's house with a no trespassing sign. She called dispatch and they called dispatch, Chris and Kristen, and spoke to someone on there and told them that they needed to leave the residence. I get there, they're still present. I get out of the passenger side. Chris is yelling at me. I remember he steps on my flip-flop. He's going in and telling me, we're gonna get these kids and you're gonna give them to me, and demanding so many things. But then he tells me that his But yeah, TCH is in the car and she will kick my ASS. And from there, he proceeded to open up the car door. She got out, and there was a fight that started. And Brandy and Lisa broke it up.
But nobody ended up with any criminal convictions out of that, did they?
No, sir, because it got dropped.
And the judge asked you earlier about who you thought may be an appropriate person to supervise visitations if he grants that. Have you found that person?
Yes, sir.
Is she here today?
She is.
And what's her name?
Brittany Jackson.
And she's agreed to do this on a temporary basis anyway, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I believe she's a licensed social worker.
She is.
And that person's okay with you?
Absolutely.
That's all I have now.
Massengill? You have any questions?
Briefly. During the pendency of this action, there have been several attempts, though, to proceed to mediation, right?
There has, yes, sir.
And we 3 or 4, I had to look back, with different offices, but it kept getting continued, though, right? Yeah, you're unavailable, right?
Correct, and then it was scheduled.
And it was scheduled, but then, decided, didn't want to proceed. You had your attorney file a motion to waive it altogether after 3 or 4 attempts and months, trying to get it set up, right?
So regarding mediation, the price had jumped to double than what it was, and I was unable to afford that. And then, yes, we set a motion to omit mediation.
And it was after we, multiple attempts. So both parties, we had it delayed, proceed on this action.
No, sir, I'm pretty sure we took immediate action on the mediation. It took a little bit of time to get that scheduled with the office that was going to do it.
Now, let's see. Yes, as we said, I think everything's been covered, I think, Yes, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. You may stand down.
Thank you.
Any other proof, Mr. Jackson?
No, John.
Do you have any other proof? I'll hear you in argument.
No, that's pro judgment.
Your Honor, the part of this case that really causes me as much concern is that he's not paid a penny. All this time. He's supporting this lady's children. He's making other child support. He made the comment he would love to help with his children, that they're the most important thing in this. And he hadn't lifted a finger to help them, not once. And to add insult to injury, Your Honor, the United States government is paying him for his wife and his child, and he's keeping the money. It's outrageous. One of the reasons that I wanted to know who's going to testify here today, what they were going to testify to, came up with this suicidal child. At first I've heard of it, first I knew this lady was going to testify. I think that poses, just on its face, a serious threat to safety around that child. She stayed 4 weeks in an acute care hospital. And having run those things, I can tell you, if there ain't something bad wrong with it, they won't let you stay. 4 weeks. And she went from suicidal ideations, then she ended up saying it was a form of depression, and she's still taking psychotropic drugs. And I'd like to know exactly what's going on with that child before these other children get introduced to that situation. That's a serious problem as far as I'm concerned. And I'd also like to point out that December 28th, 2020, you made the temporary order of protection a permanent order of protection concerning him going around my client.
Permanent order of protection lasts for 1 year. That's as far as the statute allows it.
You made it permanent.
Permanent versus a temporary order of protection is just the lingo of the statute. A temporary order of protection is in 15 days until the hearing. From that point, you make a permanent order of protection, which expires in 1 year, and you can apply to have it extended for 1 year. That's statutory. So I don't have the power vested in me to deviate from the statute and make an order of protection, which is only good for 1 year, a permanent in the sense. It is permanent in the sense of it's not a temporary order. It becomes, it lasts until the statute says it expires. But beyond that, there's been a restraining order that was issued as well in this case. So.
Whatever comes out of this, we'd like it to be something that can be enforced for longer than a year, keeping him away from her. And the other part of this, Your Honor, is, I think, just pretty simple. Got a few assets, not many. You got weapons that are worth some money. We've got that check up there that she's entitled to half to. We never got the information on his 401k, so we do not know what's in his 401k. But I'd like part of the order to be that he be ordered to supply that information and that he be ordered to pay her half of the 401k. We'd like child support to be retroactive to the date of the separation. And going to order visitation, we'd like it supervised. It's supervised by this lady that's here on a very short-term basis, Your Honor. These children hadn't seen this man for over 2 years. They don't even, one of them hardly knows who he is, just 6 years old. Hadn't seen the father since he was 4. I believe that's all.
Mr. Massey?
Thank you. I'd like to address some of the arguments posed and then proceed with ours. At the outset, Mr. Baxter has expressed he's more than fine to turn over his 401k. There's been a lot of testimony throughout the trial today about issues with discovery, Your Honor, and I would point out that my motion to continue for the last hearing, part of it in that motion that's filed with the court expressed that neither party had seasonably supplemented their discovery. And with the objections that I've received today for some of the documents, I was the only party that even issued a witness and exhibit list. The court, it's clear that there's been all this issue about what Mr. Baxter should disclose, and this, that, and the other. Ms. Baxter has failed to supplement at any point after their initial disclosure. That's why both parties are shooting in the dark to an extent here. So I think that to be clear for the record. Secondly, with the check, I mean, we there was some dispute on the stand, but I've got the settlement offer, I guess you could say, and its rejection. But from the outset, our position was that we'd be fine dividing check, and that parties in disagreement with that. But Mr. Jackson just expressed that his client's entitled to half that check, and at least that's one thing that we can agree on. So it's not an issue there. As far as these other issues, the child support, you've heard Mr. Baxter testify that he has been wanting to get this action go forward. All these issues we're having, and part of it was the scheduling with mediation on their side. Part of it was discovery, which, Your Honor, having practiced and with as much experience you have, sometimes that's the client, sometimes that's the attorney, and there's some issues there. He's been chomping the bit to go forward on this, and he's been ready to proceed. And he testified before Your Honor that he understands there will be child support going forward, and he understands there will be retroactive child support, and that's not an issue for him. So we've got that. And I think as far as the debts, I think everyone's covered the assets, and it's relatively small marital estate for division. So I think that's been covered. So we shift gears now. So what is this case really about? All right, we don't have a ton of assets going around and all that. It really boils down to custody. And Your Honor, you're presented with two worlds here. You have one that relies solely on the testimony of Ms. Baxter, in which Mr. Baxter is dangerous and volatile and this, that, and the other, and all that, But she's testified that both parties have, that she's seen other people and there was inappropriate activity. Mr. Baxter's done. I think at this point, the court can find that grounds exist as to both parties as inappropriate marital conduct and/or adultery based on the admission of the parties. So fault's not an issue.
You sue for grounds of inappropriate marital conduct?
I'm not sure. I have to look back, Your Honor. Don't have that in front of me.
Might want to look at your file.
Yes, Your Honor, yes, Your Honor. So,
There's an amended complaint filed by Mr. Jackson who alleges that your client is guilty of inappropriate marital conduct. On an amended counter complaint, I don't find an amended original complaint. I'm sorry, it's an amended complaint that Mr. Jackson has filed that alleges inappropriate marital conduct. I'm looking to see whether or not there was ever an answer filed to that.
should be, I'll check in there, Your Honor, yeah. But, yeah, we should have filed an answer and counterclaim, but regardless, neither.
Well, it's not really regardless, is it? If you haven't filed an answer in the counter complaint, I can't award your client a divorce. It can be only on the grounds of whether or not she has proven grounds for divorce. There is no answer in counter complaint that I found to the original. It was an original marital dissolution agreement complaint filed on the form the state provides online, a marital dissolution agreement, and a motion to withdraw from the marital dissolution agreement, and an amended complaint filed by Mr. Jackson to add the grounds of inappropriate marital conduct. I do not see anywhere in the file an answer to that complaint, amended complaint, or to the or a counter complaint on behalf of your client. There's plenty of other issues, but it doesn't matter who gets the divorce. A person will be just as divorced one way or the other. So,
yes, Your Honor.
If I grant it, because I'm not convinced that's in the best interest of these children at this point. They've both proven that they're guilty of adultery. Why should I divorce them and let them then go out and mess up other people's lives more than they've already done? As that's a line from one of the judges, Judge Chancellor Leach, once said, I'm not going to divorce these people and let them go out and mess up two other people's lives. So the question is, they're both guilty of adultery. Clearly, that's been established. So why should I grant them a divorce?
Well, I think, both parties clearly are seeking it. I think, I'm sure your irreconcilable differences were cited in there as well.
It won't be irreconcilable differences. The complaint that was filed was only on the grounds of irreconcilable differences. The original complaint, it was a form using, expecting a non-contested divorce. As Mr. Baxter pointed out, it was supposed to have been a non-contested divorce. That's why they signed off on all of the agreements. So, reasons for the divorce on the first page of the request for divorce complaint. My spouse and I can no longer get along and we have irreconcilable differences. That's it. Just pointing that out to you, so future reference.
We'd ask for an extremely liberal pleading standard here, Your Honor.
Yeah, we do, but they don't include, there's a form that says, one of these forms that's available online that says irreconcilable differences as the grounds are in the alternative, inappropriate marital conduct. I'm just simply pointing out that that wasn't done in this case. All right, go ahead.
All right. So, there's a real issue here, Your Honor, because we're talking about the right to custody. This is a fundamental right established, during the Warren Court days. So we've got that. You heard testimony where Ms. Baxter, with her sole testimony, expresses that she believes that Mr. Baxter's a danger to the children, a risk to the home, and it shouldn't be able to have any kind of visitation. But now, maybe some supervised visitation. Mr. Jackson said supervised visitation on a short-term basis. So they were there. So you got that. Now you've heard a menagerie of testimony from other parties, though. You've heard, from Mr. Baxter himself. You've heard from, the paramour. There's been a lot of talk about Ms. Robinson, who's come here today so the court can examine. We've not heard from Mr. Vanderpool, who, Ms. Baxter had a child with during the pendency of this action. But she's been here. Mr. Baxter's been here. Miss Mandy Bishop testified by Zoom, and critically, I believe, Miss Sydney Franklin, all of which were able to give their testimony about where he is as a parent, as a father, and the best interests. We've got that. Secondly, Your Honor, the whole basis of the order of protection, he's testified. He made a mistake. He knows it's wrong, and he didn't just blow it off. He's taken critical steps to do the domestic violence counseling that he testified about, to do the counseling with the VA, to get on medication, to do all that. And that's all we can ask of people. And when there's a problem, that they address it. And people have those problems. That's where similarly in closing argument, I think, maybe I'm missing something here, but the whole issue with Miss Robinson's daughter and her handling of all that with Lacey, I don't see what the issue is. She testified that yes, her daughter had issues with bullying, all that, and she jumped in there immediately, got her the treatment, and has been there every step of the way. That happens. I think everyone is familiar with some of my, where I really haven't been on like, past year or two like I used to be. I'm being aware of my brother and his, bipolar schizophrenia, and the issues with that. That happens. And what the court needs to pay attention to shouldn't be that that happens. That's a concern. It should be looking at what the parties do to mitigate this. When they step in there and they take action. And critically, Ms. Robinson even testified when she's up there that after all this fighting with Ms. Baxter, the very night that the order of protection is based off of that incident, it was her who called Ms. Baxter so the children didn't have to wait around there. That's, so the parties, yes, they are, no one in this case is a paragon of morality, of marital fidelity, but that doesn't matter. The parties are fine, the fault, Alamo is on the issue. What matters for the court is the best interest of the children. And with all the testimony we've had here today, Your Honor, versus the sole testimony of Ms. Baxter, it's clear that Mr. Baxter does not present a substantial risk of harm to these children. He needs to have the relationship reestablished around there, consistent with his parenting with all these other children. And for that reason, we're asking that Your Honor, of course, divide up the marital estate and all that, but that the order of protection as to the children be dissolved, and that Mr. Baxter and Ms. Baxter enjoy 50-50 custody, consistent with TCA 36-6-106 and the statutory goal of maximizing time with both parents. And if the court has concerns, because there has been some significant time since the incident in February of 2022, then we'd ask that if there is, as Mr. Jackson put it in argument, supervised visitation on a short-term basis, that it be, we're asking for 50-50 immediately, but if the court has concerns, we're asking for a limited period of supervised visitation with a road to 50-50 visitation if there are no further issues. For that reason, Your Honor, with all the testimony we've had, we're asking that that be granted and that these parties be granted divorce. Thank you.
Well, the court disagrees with Mr. Massengill about the marital infidelity not mattering. In fact, one of the statutory factors that the court is required to consider in a determination of custody is the moral fitness of both of the parents. The court is going to deal first with the property issues. The only proof before me in the form of any exhibits are the two documents that the defendant has introduced. And I will point out, I've looked through this file a couple of different times. There was an original complaint alleging irreconcilable differences. There was a marital dissolution agreement that was filed and signed by the parties that then was withdrawn from by notice given by Mr. Jackson on behalf of the mother or the wife. And an amended complaint was then filed by Mr. Jackson on her behalf, to allege the grounds of inappropriate marital conduct, and that was the last actual pleading regarding the grounds for divorce and so forth. And as a result of that, the amended complaint alleging irreconcilable differences was filed on March 15th, 2021. So it's been pending for over 2 years. So under those facts and circumstances, the court is basically of the opinion that the plaintiff should be awarded an absolute divorce, if for no other reason, because she's the only one who's asked for one. I pointed out the fact that both of them are guilty of adultery because they're still legally married until I pronounce that they're divorced, and they're both have been involved in other relationships. But come to that, I'm granting her the divorce on the grounds of inappropriate marital conduct. That's what was alleged. I cannot grant him a divorce as well. It really doesn't matter who gets the divorce as long as as the court does grant a divorce. The property division, the only documents I have before me are some testimony by her, but also the testimony regarding these exhibits. The 1972 C10 truck is valued at $8,000. I'll reserve that in a moment. The bedroom set number 1 is $500. The bedroom set number 2 is valued at $500. Those are at the home along with the living room set, which is $500. And under the circumstances, it appears that those items should be granted to the wife. Actually, there's a bedroom set number 2 that the husband, I think, had asked for. It's the bedroom set number 2. And I don't know which one that is, but it's valued the same. So they'll each get one of the bedroom sets. They can agree, or they can come back on a different day and have a hearing over which bedroom set they should get. The living room set will be awarded to the wife. She's awarded her rings, if for no other reason than it appears that they may have been a gift situation, but I have no proof of the actual value other than some conjectural value that based on hearsay. 2015 Nissan Sentra SR, which was the one that was wrecked while in the possession of the wife. She is going to be awarded that check of $5,000. She'll get that check in its entirety, and I'll explain why. Because when I get to the distribution of the guns that was requested, I find that Mr. Baxter's valuation of the guns is more accurate than Mrs. Baxter's, and I take his values. She will be awarded the Glock 42 9mm that was gifted to hers or was supposed to be hers, and she'll get that. He will get the remaining guns, which total $4,400 according to his valuation. So I'm offsetting the value of that check, $5,000 check, with the values of those guns. It doesn't have to be an absolute equal division of property. It has to be equitable, in this court's opinion, under the facts, that's the equitable situation. Part of the reason I'm giving her that is to help her if she chooses to do so in finding a vehicle that she wants to have. The 1972 C10 truck will be awarded to her as well. As in her possession, worth $8,000, and she can sell it, do whatever she wants to use that to obtain another vehicle. He is awarded all of his taxidermy, trapping, hunting equipment, all of the other items that were listed on his exhibit, including just basically everything else that was listed there as an item of property is awarded to him. He's also awarded all of the items on this list of property that was Exhibit 2 to this, the 2003 Chevrolet Silverado, which has a $7,000 value, so it equals out with this other truck. And they can swap it if they want to by agreement, but otherwise they get it as it presently stands. Deep freezer, $500 would be awarded to him as well. The birth certificate, social security card, and DD 214, DD 215, his medals and all of those things are awarded to him, and they'll be turned over to him within the next 10 days. Now, I think that's all that the property issues that have been brought before the court. And then moving to the issue of custody of the child or children, the court's required under Tennessee law to look at the statutory factors under 36.6.106 for a child custody case. Those include, I find that the strength, nature, and stability of the child's relationship with each parent favors the mother at this point in time, primarily because the father hasn't seen the children for now going on 2 years. I understand the problems that he has faced with being able to get to see the children, but we hold court on a regular basis, and there were numerous agreed orders that continued this order of protection by agreement. So it wasn't that we had a hearing and it didn't get to it, but rather the agreement was made starting in December the 1st. Temporary order of protection would remain in full force and effect pending a further hearing. That was from December of 2020. And it says that the, went on to say that in December of, let's see, numerous other court hearings that there were hearings regarding his right to see the children that could have been litigated and more forcefully and were not, whatever the case is. That, in my opinion, is a problem because of the fact that he hadn't seen them for 2 years. And these are a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old. Each parent or caregiver's past potential for future performance of parental responsibilities, including willingness and ability of each of the parents and caregivers to facilitate and encourage a close and continuing parent-child relationship. In my opinion, Mrs. Baxter has not fulfilled that part very well. She doesn't want him to really see the children, in my opinion, and it would be fine if he didn't see the children, although she has espoused that she wants them to have a healthy relationship. But part of that is going to be cut out the nonsense that's happened between the two parents. I don't have any belief that's going to happen. She's upset because he had a child with one of her former friends. Understandable. But it doesn't change the fact that he's the parent of these children. So the refusal to attend the court-ordered parenting seminar, I don't know that either of them have done that, but both of them will be ordered, if they haven't done it, to complete it within 60 days. File their certificate with the court. The disposition of each parent to provide the child with food, clothing, medical care, education, and other necessary care. Mr. Baxter, the law of the state of Tennessee provides that I can terminate your parental rights if you have not provided support for the children for a period of 4 months prior to the filing of a petition to terminate your parental rights. It's been 2 years and you haven't provided support. I don't buy the idea that you say, well, until it gets to a final hearing or anything like that. Your children had to eat. They had to be provided for with clothing. It had to provide all of these things. And whatever the situation was between you and your wife at that time didn't alleviate your obligation to support your child. The state of Tennessee says your right to see your children is totally independent of your obligation to support them. She can't deny you the right to see your children because you're not paying child support. You can't not pay child support because you're not getting to see your children. All that means is both sides would end up in jail for violating the state law. So the fact that she hasn't allowed you to see the children under these circumstances without any more than a court hearing, that the original order of protection and a temporary restraining order, means that you haven't seen them, but that doesn't alleviate you from paying the support for these children. And that is a major factor that the court has to consider, because you simply have not provided for your children for the last 2 years. You may have, in your mind, a good reason for that, but it is not a reason that the court can accept, because the law does not allow me to. So that factor clearly favors the mother. The degree to which each parent's been a primary caregiver favors the mother. The love, affection, and emotional ties between each parent and the children or child. Obviously, I find that both of the parents have love and affection for the children, and that's an equal factor. Emotional needs and developmental level of the child, I just know that they're a 10-year-old, a 6-year-old, but apparently otherwise they're all doing well. Number 8, the moral, physical, mental, and emotional fitness of each parent as it relates to their ability to parent the child. I don't sit here to criticize people's interactions with other people or their moral, or it's not my place to judge people as far as their morals go. It's my place to judge how you conduct your life and how that impacts your child. And you have 2 children, or by a prior marriage, you have 2 children with this marriage, and now you have another child that's 5 children, all by different mothers. And I hope that they all get to go along, but it is a situation that the court can't ignore the fact that you had this relationship with this other person, and during your time that you were still living with your wife, that you had this relationship, and that she became pregnant and had the child while you're still living with her. Nor can I ignore the fact that while separated, Mrs. Baxter engaged in a relationship with other men as well. And, your children see this stuff. I wish I could say that there's some magic formula that I can give you, but I've about decided it's pointless for me to try to give you advice on how you can protect your children from being exposed to some of these things. what you're doing right now with your interaction with what you've done with your life so far is teaching a lesson to your children, that this is how you should live your life when you get to be an adult. So what you're doing right now is what you've done in the past will teach your children that's a good way for them to live as well. So be prepared, because expect that your children are going to have the same kind of morals, the same kind of lifestyle as you and your wife have had and what you've engaged in. That's the end of my sermon at this point. So the importance of continuity in a child's life favors the mother. The interaction with relationships with siblings and other relatives, as far as I can tell, that favors both parents equally. Evidence of physical or emotional abuse to the child or other parent. Court finds that both of these parents have engaged in behavior that could be considered to be abusive or violent, and as a result, that favors neither one of them. Character and behavior of any other person who resides in or frequents the home of the parent, that would be Miss Robertson, who is the only other person I believe that was her name, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, the mother of his present child, and that would be the only other person who really testified about being in the home on a regular basis. And she certainly, despite how her relationship with Mr. Baxter began, I found that there's no evidence that she is a bad person or that she is immoral in some way or a bad influence around the children. And any other factor that I find, there's nothing that would prevent me from making this decision. So based upon this, I found that the mother should be designated a primary residential parent because of the simple fact that she is the person who has served as that role in the past. I know that Mr. Baxter would like to have equal time with the child or children, but that requires a spirit of cooperation I'm not sure that these parties are capable of. And in addition to that, I cannot ignore the fact that for the last 2 years, he's not seen the children. I don't find that Mr. Baxter presents a threat to these children physically or emotionally. I don't think he's a danger to the children. But the fact of the matter that it's gone 2 years without having a hearing to try to get some visitation requires this court to consider the best interest of the children rather than any other aspect in that regard. And so for that reason, I'm going to order that the initial stages of Mr. Baxter's visitation will begin this weekend. And if they can find a supervisor, if this lady is willing to supervise the children, then we'll do it from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock Saturday morning. And it will be every Saturday morning between now and Christmas. And then on Christmas, I don't even know what day Christmas is on. On the 25th is on a Monday. So he'll have every Saturday from 8 to 12 under the supervision. He'll have unsupervised visitation with the children on Christmas Day beginning at 2 o'clock until 8 o'clock Christmas night. Thereafter, on the Saturday, the 30th, his visitation will be unsupervised, assuming there's not any problem. His visitation will be unsupervised from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it will continue that way for a period of 1 month. Every Saturday, I'm doing this in an effort to try to reunite them. We'll have unsupervised visitation from Saturday at 8 to 6. And the following week, we'll alternate between Saturday and Sunday. We'll have 8 to 6 on Sunday. And that will continue until that will continue through and until the weekend of February the 3rd. And February the 3rd, it will go to overnight. Again, this is all assuming there's no issues. If there are issues, then Mr. Jackson knows he can file a motion to revisit the visitation. Then the visitation will go from 8 a.m. on Saturday morning until 5 p.m. on Sunday afternoon every other weekend. That will continue until the first weekend of March, which will then be out March the 2nd, and beginning March the 2nd, actually March the 1st on Friday, he'll go to 6 p.m. Friday afternoon until 6 p.m. Sunday evening, and that will be pending further orders of the court. The court at this point envisions that additional time will be granted by agreement between the parties for the spring vacation or spring break from school, he needs to have some additional overnight visitation during that period. I just don't know if it's 1 week or 2 weeks. It's going to be 1 week, then it's likely to be equally divided between them. I'm doing this simply because of the fact that, in my opinion, it needs to be gradually reintroducing the children to him. And I just don't, at this point, have enough faith that things are going to go smoothly even now until to talk about an equal 50-50 custody. It is the idea that the state legislature has adopted that we should move towards a maximization of parenting time with both parents. I'm not saying that can't happen eventually, but we're not to that stage yet. So, Mr. Baxter, I credit your service to our country. I credit the fact that you were wounded in service. I don't diminish that in any way, shape, form, or fashion, especially on December the 7th. But I would simply tell you that the concerns that people have about folks who have PTSD and so forth are that they get help. You said you're getting help. So a condition of this order will also be that you continued your treatment on these issues so that we can all be assured that you're getting the help you need. So anything further that I have not addressed? Oh, child support. Child support will be calculated and it will be retroactive to the point of the law says he's got to pay child support, and that starts the date of separation and continues on to the present. So parties will exchange current information as well as past information. I have some dollar figures that were hourly rates, but I don't have the actual hours they've worked and so forth. But they have tax returns, I'm assuming, that can be supplied. So each party will supply the other with proof of their income for the periods involved since their separation. Child support will be calculated based upon a 365 and 0 for that period of time. Because Mr. Baxter, from the point in time where he was no longer seeing the children, then the child support will be calculated on that. If there was a time when they separated and he was having visitation, then he'll get credit for those days. Presently, the court will order that the calculation in the future will be 265 days for the mother and 90 days for the father until further orders of the court. So to make that clear, from this point forward, it's 265 and 90 that you're calculating along with current incomes. Retroactive support will be calculated. He'll get credit for any time he had visitation with the children prior to the imposition of that restraining order that suspended, or order of protection that suspended his time. And during that time that was enforced and he had no contact with the children, then by law, he gets no credit. So it would be 365 and 0. The medical insurance will be kept henceforth by the father, and he'll get credit for that on the calculation of child support. And his income will also include, during the time that they've been separated and he's received the income for the children, that will be calculated as well. As the allotment that he's received for the wife and child will be a part of his income to be considered in the calculation of child support. Now, Mr. Jackson, I know you've had a couple of times you need to ask a question. Go ahead.
About the arrears, Your Honor, how's that going to be paid?
Well, we need to determine the amount of the arrears. So I'm going to order that you calculate the arrears, and then if you've been able to determine that, have the matter set back on the court for us, unless you can agree, have the matter set back on the court's docket for me to determine a method of payment.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And just to clarify, the order of protection as the children
Order of protection is dissolved. He is restrained from threatening, harassing, harming, stalking, coming about the plaintiff in this case for any, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, she is the plaintiff. I apologize. From coming about her for any purpose other than having to do with the children. You're going to have to start communicating. I'm giving him the opportunity to have contact with you so you can talk about the children, but it can't be hostile. It can't be antagonistic. Record your phone calls. It's permissible for one side to record your phone calls so that we have a record of it. Communicate via email or text. I don't care. But I want you to start dealing with each other with the idea that if your child is looking over your shoulder and seeing how you're communicating by text or by message, or how you're talking to them on the phone, is that what you want them to hear? And if you think about it in those terms, then it might keep you from saying something that you wouldn't otherwise do. There will be no hostility between you two on these messages or communication. And that's the best I can do for you. I hope that you can learn to communicate. You have a long way to go. You got 8 years on one child, you got 12 years on another. And between now and then, you still have an opportunity for your children to see you become rational parents who don't want to have the other one thrown in jail, but rather would like to have the opportunity to co-parent. So let's start from that and see where we are. Both of you have apparently moved on, and I think it's time for us to now put our children first and decide that we're going to live our life trying to make their life better, and rather than get back at the other side. All right, Mr. Jackson will draw the order since he is the plaintiff in the case.
I will draw it, Your Honor.
Submit it to Mr. Massengill for his approval, please.
Thank you for your time, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, that check is here. Let's tender that check and have your client endorse it so that it can be given to her.